Hello everyone, I hope all of you are doing great. I am doing great as well. Welcome to my channel again. And if you are new here, you are invited to subscribe this channel. All right, today I wanted to talk about an issue that people usually who are in relationship face. By relationship, I mean romantic relationships. How people validate their toxic behaviors, how people find ways to validate their existential issues in relationships. You would have noticed that after some point of time in a relationship, those two people start to notice some sort of drawbacks in each other, and in the expectation to keep the relationship going and healthy, they start expecting some form of change from each other instead of themselves, and this becomes a reason of ongoing quarrels, debates, arguments, violence, etc. at times. For example, assuming that one of you are in a relationship with someone, with a romantic partner, and after some, see, in the beginning phase of a relationship, everything is a fairy tale world. If it was not, you would not start that relationship. Relationships start in a phase when you both feel attracted, attached, and there is some magical connection. At that point of time, you do not notice the disadvantages that you feel are disadvantages in another human being, in your partner. In that beginning phase, those drawbacks are not as visible as they are at a later point of time in the relationship. So you go ahead and you are happy in the honeymoon period. By the honeymoon period, I am not referring to the honeymoon period after getting married. The honeymoon period is often used uh, as a layback period in any area. It could be in job, it could be in relationships, anywhere, where you don't have to worry much about anything. You're just getting into it. For example, if you're getting into a new job, you have a honeymoon period in the beginning, 1, 2, or 3 months probably. You're not as monitored as you will be after a point of time. So in romantic relationships, when this particular honeymoon period gets over, that is the time that people start looking at and start noticing the flaws in each other. And when you see flaws, you want to make them perfect, because it is a human tendency. Well, I would say it is not a human tendency, it is a tendency put into human brains by the society itself. Seeking perfection into relationships from another human being is not natural, is not human, it is a learned behavior. And so you start seeking those perfections, you start noticing those flaws. In the initial phase, you mention those flaws to your partner with a polite tone, and with time passing by, it starts becoming a reason for arguments between you two people. In all of this structure, you do not find any flaw in yourself. You don't. You only find flaws in the other human being, and the other human being finds flaws in you. That is nature. That is how relationships work usually. And then there is a time in the relationship when both the parties start to believe that they are perfect in themselves, and their partner is not able to accept them the way they are, and they expect that their partner accepts them the way they are. For example, I am not, I am in a relationship with a woman or a girl or a guy, for that matter, and I am not being able to take care of my health, which is a crucial factor for the relationship to go on a healthy note, because one person's health will impact the entire relationship and its dynamic in the future. Understanding that I am not able to take care of my physical health primarily, it will impact my partner. And my partner looks at this flaw of mine and tries to communicate that to me and tries to make betterments. They try to convince me that I should start working out or start uh, consuming healthy food, etc. But because I am not habitual of working out and I am not very fond of bland food, and that my taste buds only want spices and deep fried food, etc., and so I am not ready to make that change. Maybe at some point of time I am able to, but in the long run I will not be able to if it doesn't come from my soul, from within myself. This is how human psychology works. Unless something comes from within you, you do it for a certain period of time and then you realize that it is not you doing the thing. And after some time I will start blaming my partner to that they do not love me, to accept me the way I am. And then I will start putting blame on them to look at this flaw. And I might tell them that if there would be someone else who would have loved me truly, they would have accepted me the way I am. You would have met those people. And instead of correcting issues in order to make the relationship survive, we start putting blame on each other. We start putting blame on each other, a, the very popular blame that you are not able to love me the way I am, and that is not true love, and so you have never loved me for who I was. You just wanted me in a specific pattern. And so they convince themselves, I will convince myself that it is my way of living, and if somebody loves me, they will love me irrespectively of my health conditions, in whatever health state I am. They should love me. If they love me, they should love me irrespectively, unconditionally. And that becomes my understanding, and that becomes hatred in my heart towards the person, the other person. Assuming that a time comes that we two part ways and we break up, we get away from each other, and somebody else outside our relationship, I get into relationship with them, and they accept me in the initial phase. Because as I mentioned earlier, in the very initial phase, we do not look at flaws of other people, of our partner, because everything is just fairy tale world. And so our my new relationship, my new partner will also work in the same manner. They would not be able to see the flaws that I have, because the relationship is in the initial phase itself. There is romance, there are stories, everything is new and happy. And at this point of time in the new relationship itself, I will convince myself, I will validate my feelings of telling myself that my ex was a bad human being. that he or she was not able to accept me the way I was, and my new partner is able to accept me, and that there was no problem in me. It was he or she who was not able to love me, who wanted me in a specific manner. And so we validate our toxic behavior. But the pattern repeats itself. Now, after some point of time in my new relationship, now my new partner will also start looking at the flaws that I have. Because it is very common for people to find a mutual ground so that the relationship will stay healthy, and that your partner will start looking at flaws in you, and you will start looking at flaws of your partner in expectation for them to improve that area of their life for you, for your relationship. But now the new relationships also suffer from the same, with the same issue. Now the other person start looking at flaws in me, and now there is hatred again, and now I start looking with enmity with my new partner as well, who has become my current partner, a relationship of probably 1 or 2 years. And now again I repeat the same mistake of expecting the other person to accept me the way I am. In the entire conversation, by any mean, I did not mean, or did not want to encourage people to change themselves for their partners, for their romantic partners. That is that's not what I'm trying to encourage here. I'm just trying to, you know, open up the behavior that people usually follow. I am specifically targeting that particular emotion of validating yourself. Why this topic is important? Because we keep repeating that thing, and we keep assuming that the next relationship will bring more peace in our lives, and that our current partner has some issue in themselves. They might have. If I would not take care of my physical health, I have that issue, and that will impact the relationship in its true form. But both the parties would have some issues, some sort of issues. I will expect the other person to give me more time. Maybe they might expect me to do a certain thing for them. And it's all just expectations. And we will start telling ourselves that this person is not able to do so and so thing for me. And the problem lies in them, not in me. And so we validate our feelings for the next relationship. And the next relationship in its initial phase confirms our validation, approves our emotional traumas. I've dealt with this in my life personally, and gladly right now, today I have the eye to observe it, to look back and see at what has already happened in my life before. I have expected a lot of things from my romantic partners, and those expectations from me, from them, ended up in separation, which was not a bad thing at all. I'm not trying to say that separation is bad, breakups are bad, divorces are bad. They are not. They are sign of a healthy society. Accepting toxic relationship, because relationships do become toxic at some point of time. Permanency becomes toxic, and if people do not break up, people do not take divorces, people do not separate their ways or part their ways, then that is where true toxicity breeds itself. And so separation is a sign of, you know, a healthy society. And if those relationships end with good notes, that is a sign of a healthy relationship. But as I was mentioning about my relationship experiences in the past, one thing I observed about myself: I have been toxic in relationships. I have dealt with toxic partners, and at many a times, both of us have been toxic in the relationship, expecting a lot of things from the other and not doing anything that the other person is expecting from me. But one thing that I have never done is I have never talked bad about my exes in front of the new partner to feel validated in front of them. But I have observed many of my exes in our initial phase and the later phases also, they kept talking about how inappropriate their partner was about this particular issue. And then I realized that the, the thing they're talking, the thing with which their partner was not satisfied, is the thing that I'm also not satisfied with. And that is a true problem. And if they are talking bad about their exes, they will definitely talk bad about me in front of their future partners. I had no eye for this earlier when I was in relationships. Now, when I'm single, when I'm spending more time alone, I'm able to relate that. And this is how you push away your trauma, your previous trauma, and you put it on new relationships. You talk with your new partners and tell them how bad your older partner was, how bad, how inhuman, how evil your ex was. But we never talk about our issues. We look at ourselves as pure perfection in its human form. In the first place, we should not expect anything from other people. We should enjoy the honeymoon phase. And if things work out, work out. And if they don't, we should part ways. That is my understanding of feeling happy, being happy, not not to make it look like that you are happy. People who struggle in relationships for years and years and years, what is the point of that? You're not making a business that you will have to go through hardships to create a business. It is love, it is romance. If you start struggling in romance, in love, then the purpose is failed. The purpose dissolves itself. And so I believe that relationships should go on as long as they make sense, they keep you happy. And after a certain point of time, if you do not feel happy, if you think you are struggling and you are expecting a lot of things and a lot of things are being expected out of you, then that should be the point of separation. And on a good note, the baddest ends happen when you struggle too much with your partner. You end up only when you have made them a villain in front of yourself, and when you are a villain in their eyes. That is the only time when you end up. That's a bad thing, not a healthy sign of relationship. So let's question ourselves if we have been like that, we have been validating our stupid feelings, making the other person an evil and ourselves the perfection. And we need to question that the way the other person is an evil or a villain in our eyes, and the way we want to show that person as a villain in our future partner's eyes, is the same way that our ex would do. They would look at us as an enemy, as a villain, and they might badmouth about you in front of their new partner. And so that is how the loop goes on. The issue repeats itself and you never get out of that issue. You meet new people, but same issues in the relationships, same patterns, same toxicity. If you think about it, it might make sense. I'll see you in another video. Take care then. Bye. Take care.